Hello Bio4 and welcome to the arteries. We finished veins and then we're going to move on to the arteries, so it's helpful for you to have your list of structures that you need to know. The difficulty with the arteries is that they're not symmetrical. That's why we started with the veins. So when you look at this and you have, let me get my pen back, the aortic arch, that's easy to see. And now we don't just have two, we have three here. And what's happening? I'm going to look first at this one furthest to the right of the patient, the Brachiocephalic Artery, which is the one that's distributing blood, remember, to the arms and to the head. And then these two match. Do you notice? So this is the right common carotid and this is the left common carotid, but the left common carotid is coming off the aortic arch and the right common carotid is not. It's coming off the brachiocephalic. So from here on they look alike, but below they don't. So you'll have to recognize that this is right subclavian and this is brachiocephalic. So subclavian, why? Because it's going to go under the clavicle. Correct? So it's subclavian. And then we need the symmetry on the other side, so we have the left subclavian on this side. So that's good. We have the two common carotids, the two subclavians, and then this little piece here. And that little piece then is the brachiocephalic. That's coming off the aortic arch. So I hope that's clear for you. As it curves around, it's going to now come down into and become the descending aorta, and it's going to become thoracic and then abdominal aorta, right? It's one big distributing hose. Okay, if you look at it more here within the chest, you got that idea again. There's the aortic arch, and then this piece here, remember, is brachiocephalic because it's brachio and cephalic, and the two common carotids, and subclavian under the clavicle, subclavian under the clavicle. Once it gets to the region of the axilla, it's going to be very much like the veins, which is axillary because it's in the region of the axilla, and then brachial as it's in the region of the arm. Okay, so the best thing is to draw these out. Can you identify these? I'm just going to leave that with you. See if you can practice without me telling you and you learn them. So you can stop the video and practice that, and I'm going to move on. So there again, you can practice without the names being on it. Okay, for drawing them, I think that's the best thing to do, and you'll have an assignment where you have to draw all the arteries and veins in one big project. But for now, just to practice, you have this aortic arch. You'll want to then little by little go adding the parts. So you can add then brachiocephalic, and then two common carotids, and then now you have two subclavians, and then you would label them and they would become clearer in your brain. Right now I'm just throwing names at you and it might seem overwhelming, but once you start drawing them, you'll see how you can decipher these quite easily. Let's look at them in the cadaver right now. Here, this section here is the aortic arch. So in the cadaver, this looks very sort of cream colored like this. The arteries do. And the veins look darker, do you notice? This is what's going to be a vein, and these are the arteries. And one is on top of the other, so that's sometimes complicated. So brachiocephalic is, we've cut this here, we've removed the heart, but coming off the aortic arch would be brachiocephalic, and then this would continue on. On the left common carotid, coming off the aortic arch. And then branching would be the third one that you would see coming off the arch is the left subclavian artery. This is just another view. This is from one of the programs that I use, and you would see how then this is you know, here the clavicles there. That's really nice to see. So this would be subclavian, given that on this side you'd also have the clavicle right there. And 3 branches, right? So brachiocephalic, left, common carotid, and subclavian. This is just indicating as you keep going downstream. So if we had a subclavian, you would get to a part that's the axillary, under the region of the axilla, and then onto the brachial artery. And radial and ulnar are not ones on your list that you need to know. Okay, then we would move down into the abdomen. And you have the major hose here, which is the abdominal aorta. And I'm going to try and go down your list. The next would be the celiac trunk, shown here, celiac trunk. So this one you're going to recognize because it's a branch that has 3 prongs to it. Look, 1, 2, and 3. Do you notice? So one is going to the spleen here, and the other has been cut off so you can't see it, but one's going to be to the liver, and the other is gastric, and it's going to the stomach. So that 3 prong there, you know, I'm going to draw it just like this. Right? That division of 3 there is going to be the celiac trunk. So there's the left gastric, the splenic, so the left gastric is the little one, and the splenic, and in the middle here is the common hepatic. Coming down then, superior mesenteric. So now these are in the order so that what is the next branch that you would see off this major hose, right? You'd first see in the cadaver that little triplet there, and the next one you'd see is this one. And you can see it clearly coming off there, and then you lose it. It's irrigating other things, but you would see it. And it goes to the mesentery. Remember the mesentery, which is the stained glass window between the small intestine. So that then is going to be the superior mesenteric artery because it goes to the mesentery. Superior mesenteric artery. And then we keep going down. We keep going down, and we keep going down, and you're going to get to renal artery. So actually, it's too much. It's the renal's right here. So as you come down off the superior mesenteric, the renal's quite close. A little less close on the other side, but they didn't put it in. So we're moving down in this direction. And there's the renal. So you're going to have a kidney right there. And you keep moving down. And there would be one coming to gonads. So that would be gonadal. And as you continue coming down, there's another one that goes to the mesentery, but not of the small intestine, but of the large intestine. It's actually called mesocolon, but still is going to that sort of stained glass window of the colon. So that's down below, and it's called the inferior mesenteric. Let's do those again. If you go in order, you'll have the celiac trunk. And then you're going to encounter the renal arteries, and then gonadal, and then inferior mesenteric. So, did I mention the superior? Yeah, superior, renal, gonadal, inferior mesenteric, and you're done. And these are the little ones that you're not going to bother with. Now I have to split and go to the legs, and you know that that's the region of the iliac. So they're going to be called common iliac here, right common iliac, left common iliac. And then this one's going to take a nosedive deep there into that region of the sacrum and towards the sacrum. And that one's going to be called internal iliac because it goes internally and deep. And the second branch is going to be external iliac artery. And those are the ones you need to know. And the femoral artery is not on here, so that's the last one in your list. In the lower limb, we'll see that on the next slide. Okay. In the cadaver, how does that look? So here you go. The celiac trunk. So you're seeing the branches there. This would help me to have red again. And so 1, 2, you're not really seeing the 3, how it looks right there. But right after that is the superior mesenteric, going to the mesentery. And I'm going to bring you down and take you to the inferior mesenteric, because those are the ones that I labeled on here for you. Okay, the renal artery. The renal artery is usually inferior to the vein. Do you notice how they drew them with a vein in the front? So you would have to sort of push out the vein to be able to see the artery. Here they drew them side by side, but these are hidden often. Or if I lifted up the kidney that away, then I would see it inferiorly. Renal artery. So there they are, renal arteries without the vein, and the vein has been removed so it's not hiding it. See, it's been cut there and there. Renal arteries and gonadal testicular. The gonadals are either testicular in the male or ovarian in the female. So here it is again. This should have been coming off the actual renal artery. And these are the common iliac. Yeah, and that's all we have on the cadaver. You have many of these diagrams in your anatomy and physiology revealed. As you come down into the lower limb is where we want to see the femoral, and that's the only one you need to know. So one very big, large artery in the lower limb, and that's the femoral, and that's all you need to know. Deep femoral artery. And that is the end of your list. I'm going to show it to you there. This is a really good dissection that has the femoral artery. And that is your entire list of vessels. So thanks for listening. Take care. Goodbye.